What is up, my friends? What is up? So, I saw this chart on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it today, and it got me thinking. Essentially, this person took the first halving and extrapolated the 4-year cycle out, breaking it into 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year quarters. Um, so I took a look at that. It was interesting, but I decided to actually take a look at the real halvenings and splitting those time frames into quarters. This first section of time here in yellow was before the first halving. Second halving, third halving, we just had our fourth halving. And the premise of his was you buy in the red zones, red years, okay? Which for us on my chart is basically when you get the halving, okay? So if we follow his analysis, what you would end up with is, again, you buy the halving, sell at the quarter. First cycle would have been a 6.2K return, not too shabby. Second cycle, same thing, 738% return. Last halving would have been a 464% return. And we've just entered ours, current one. So then I was looking at these cycles before us, and I noticed that the formation of our current cycle in the period leading into the most recent halving most resembles the structure of back in the 14 to 16 cycle in the halving that ultimately led to us running up to 20K basically. And it gives you this cup type formation where in quarter two, let's call it, you correct heavily. In quarter three basically brings you back up to where you started from. So it's a significant drop followed by a significant climb back up to just about where you started from. Then the halving comes, boom, off to the races again. And if we look at this last cycle that I think we most closely resemble, not the last cycle, but this 2016 cycle, sorry, you see that coming out of the halving, we also experienced a 27% correction, albeit a quicker correction, less duration, only 24 days, but a 27% correction nonetheless, and then we took off to the races. Well, we've got this similar cup style formation, bringing us back up to the peaks. We hit the halving, we had a 22% correction, and now, well, I don't know. Are we getting ready to take off as we've done in the prior quarter ones or whatever you want to call it coming out of the halving? It's certainly quite possible. Another thing that I noticed in building this chart was if you really, really wanted to maximize your returns, there's another pattern that seems to emerge regularly. And that is if instead of waiting for the halving, you bought the quarter before, so third quarter going into the end, and rode it to that same period, you would have saw significantly larger gains to the already strong gains that you get from buying the halving into the end of Q1 or whatever you want to call this period. But you would have been talking 13,000 instead of 6,000, so that would have doubled it. This one would have been 2,300% instead of 7, so that would have tripled your returns off those quarters. And our prior, yeah, again, almost another triple, 2.5 times or so, 1200%. In this current cycle, had you done that a quarter earlier, you would have already been sitting in 300% returns. And if it goes to, let's say, 100,000, there's a 500% return, plus, 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 depending on where we go to. But I just thought this was interesting, and this actually uses the halvings themselves instead of just following a 1 year, November 28th, November 28th, November 28th. This uses the actual structure of the blockchain and its mining to determine all this. And if we do find an endpoint or a good TP near this 33 level, this time fib of 0.33, which gives you equal quarters amongst the halving cycle, basically we're going to be running up until August of 25, give or take. So maybe another year on this cycle. Just some food for thought. Found it interesting. Wanted to share it. As always, good luck, have fun, practice solid risk management, and thank you for your 6.5 minutes.